Hi, it'll come as no surprise to you that student anxiety is at an all-time high. Students have always had to struggle with anxiety around testing, but it seems these days there's so much social emotional learning that needs to occur. And so I have put this together for you, which is 5 practical strategies to help students with, I had said testing anxiety, but they're good strategies for anxiety altogether. So let's get started. I'm educator, author, and mindset coach Grace Stevens, and my mission is to help teachers like you have a more positive teaching experience. So welcome to my channel. So let's see 5 things you can do to help students with their anxiety. So the first is recognize that you should be explicitly teaching children how to calm themselves. Self-soothing opportunities are really important for students, but they don't automatically know how to do it. So there are so many brain break techniques that you can teach students. And it should be an ongoing part of your classroom routine and your classroom culture. Waiting until there is some very stressful situation, for example, testing, to try and teach students how to self-regulate, calm down their nervous system. You know, it's like they've already taken one foot off the cliff. It's too late to do it then. They need to have this kind of repertoire of techniques that you have taught them that they can pull out of their toolkit when they need them. So here's just a couple. You can Google them. Whole books have been written about it, but here's a few of my favorites. So for the littles, I would say flower breathing. And with flower breathing, what you do is you hold your imaginary flower and you breathe in the beautiful aroma. And when you blow out, super gently, because you don't want to blow off the petals. Okay, so that's flower breathing. Another tried and true, some people call it take 5 breathing, we call it starfish breathing, is where students put out their starfish and they inhale, they trace with their finger. They start at the wrist, and on the inhale, on the way up, and on the exhale, on the way down. Inhale, exhale. You get the idea. So the idea is you need to practice these with students. For older students, it can be a minute of mindfulness. Have them put their heads on the desk, and just for 1 minute. 1 minute might be hard for them at the beginning. Maybe just for 30 seconds, close their eyes and just listen and see if they can identify 5 sounds. They find it a struggle, but it helps them learn how to not always have their nervous system stimulated, just to stop and to listen. There's always sounds around campus. They can hear 5 things. I mean, at first there'll be a kid intentionally tapping or kicking, whatever, because they think it's funny. But the more you practice, the more they'll learn to appreciate these techniques. Also, they could do what we call 8-4-8 breathing, where you breathe in for 8 counts, hold for 4, and exhale for 4 counts. Okay, so you get the idea. There's simple brain break exercises that you can explicitly teach your students, but they need to be taught along the way. Don't wait till there's a high stress situation and expect them to be able to learn these things. And you also need to have a classroom culture where it is okay for them to practice their techniques by themselves, or, which has even happened to me, maybe you should be embarrassed to mention that once in a while, when things are getting stressful and I'm getting visibly irritated and kids are struggling, sometimes even a student will say, hey, can we take a brain break? You know, and part of it is a reminder for me to check myself. But the other part is, you know, a teacher proud moment. Like, I taught a child to be able to do that for themselves. All right, so that's number 1. Explicitly teach children techniques to calm themselves down. Number 2, explicitly teach children to focus on what they can control. All right, so there are a bunch of exercises for this. The most popular, I would say, and probably the most effective, because it can go through any grade level, would be circle of influence and circle of concern. Okay, it was originally shared by Dr. Stephen Covey for adults, but it's easily adaptable for students. And basically, students share all their concerns on a piece of paper or drawings, depending on their age, and then they make 2 circles. The one inside is all the things they have control over, and the one on the outside is all the things they're worried about that they don't have control over. And what the learning is the more we expand our circle of influence, the more we focus on the things we can control, the smaller that circle of concern gets. Okay, so with real little kids, I've done it with picture cards and prompts, and we've put hula hoops on the floor of different sizes and sorted. Older students are able to identify their own stressors. Okay? Some things might be with regards to testing, the things that students can't control is what questions are going to be on the test, how their parents react to the test. The things they can control is how hard they study, how hard they work on problems. You get the idea. More likely right now, the problem or the issues, the stresses that we're dealing with in class revolve around, at the time of this recording, certainly around COVID protocols. As I record this, between 1/3 and 1/2 of my class is out right now for the second time this year. And students have a lot of concerns. Can they control the Omicron, the Delta, whatever variant? No. Can they control if their classmates have been vaccinated? No. But they can control wearing their masks, washing their hands, help them focus on things that they can do, making sure that they're prepared. When they go home every day, take your Chromebooks. Know that I will put everything you need to be successful and not fall behind on learning in Google Classroom, right? Help students know that they can be at home and still have a way to contact you. All of that is in their circle of control. Okay, so that's number 2. If you need some resources for that, you can Google them, or down below, I'm sure I've managed to put a link to my TPT store. I have resources there for every grade with that specific skill. Circle of influence, circle of concern. I have for the littles, I have for the mid-grades, and I also have for high school. They're like, the price of a cup of coffee. So if you just want done-for-you resources, check out TPT store or Google yourself. You can find something. All right, so that's 2. So 3 is coming back to classroom culture. To remind students, or if it maybe not even remind, maybe it's not your mindset, it certainly might not be your school's mindset, but what your school's mindset, it doesn't necessarily need to be what your class culture is. And you can have a class culture of growth over grades, right? That's something you can control. You can't control the district's policies, but you can control your class culture, right? And so growth over grades. I always think of the student who we have different ways of scoring or sorting kids into categories above, or proficient or below or drastically below, usually like 1, 2, 3, 4 scale. So if a student is 4, great, they still want to grow. If a student is 1, maybe they're in the 5th percentile, and they worked really hard for the trimester and they worked their way into the 25th percentile. That's a huge growth. Guess what? They're still a 1. You don't want to deflate a child that way. So you want students to take ownership of their growth. That is a very big indicator of how successful students are going to be, is if they chart and set goals for their own growth and focus on that growth piece over the grade piece. A grade is a snapshot in time. I understand if you're in high school, kids are trying to get into college, on a roll. Grades are important. I'm not saying they're not important. But when students are stressed, you want them to focus on their ability to grow, not that finite grade number. Okay, so that's 3. Number 4, coming specifically to testing, but also can be for other things, is to set up a calming, soothing classroom environment. Everybody's nervous systems are under constant assault. I really like for students, especially when they enter my classroom in the morning, to have soothing music on. We have a galaxy theme in our classroom. We also have a huge screen. You probably have one too, Promethean board, smart board, projector screen, whatever. I project on the universe with calming music while they come on. Find all of those things on YouTube. Thank you for those people who put them up there. But especially when kids are testing, silence, like they can't talk, but silence is uncomfortable for them. They're not used to it. And so some soothing music is very helpful. Also, I was that student. Oh my goodness, it was very hard for me to focus if someone next to me was sniffing or tapping their pencil or tapping their foot. You know, kind of got my last nerve, made me very tense. And so a little ambient music will really help with that. Okay, so that's number 4. Have some kind of nice, comfortable feeling inside the room as much as you can. And number 5, and this comes not just for testing, obviously, but with all the anxieties that we have right now, open communication with parents. Letting parents know that it's especially important right now for kids to be trying to take care of their physical as well as emotional needs. Getting enough sleep, eating healthy food, drinking enough water, getting some physical exercise. Unfortunately, at our school, my prep period, and when I get prep period, is PE. The kids go to PE. You know, come on, that PE teacher has been pulled to be a substitute in every single room. And I try and get them outside, but I'm just going to do free play with them. You know, it was supposed to be my prep period. I did not have time to prep some really awesome PE activity. But try and communicate with parents to have them understand how important it is, maybe to go for a family walk, have your child walk the dog, but especially around testing time. Make sure they don't come to school hungry, make sure they got sleep, they have some water and a snack with them, make a little brochure, send an email, do something to bring the family into it to help you. Okay, plenty of resources online, just Google them. Again, I got some in my TPT store. That's easy, print and go. But I'm not trying to sell you something here. I'm trying to teach you some techniques. All right, so let's review the 5 things that you can do to help students with not only just testing anxiety, but with anxiety in general. And number 1 is explicitly teach them self-calming techniques. And don't wait till they're stressed to do it. When a child is escalated, it's going to be very hard to convince them they need to calm down and take some deep breaths. Okay? But if they have the habit of smelling the flower, if you can work on those techniques before they are escalated, it's going to be more successful. So number 1, explicitly teach those techniques. Number 2, explicitly teach students to focus on what they can control, not what they can't. Really important for adults too. If you haven't done that in a while, pull out the piece of paper, draw some circles. 3, classroom culture, growth over grades. 4, having a nice ambience in the room, something soothing. And number 5, communication with parents. All right, so I hope you found that helpful. My channel is just getting started. I guess I'm supposed to say subscribe below so that you know when I'm making more videos. I'm going to make a different request. I'm going to say, please pay it forward. If you think this will be helpful information for your teachers, your colleagues, your administrators, whoever, pay it forward. Send it to 2 people. That's something you can do right there. Send it to 2 people. And down below, I'm sure I managed to find a link to, I do have a freebie that helps teachers have a more positive teaching experience. It's a mindset journal. It's a very practical tool with scientifically validated strategies. I would love for you to get that and to use that. It's going to help you. And that's it. Comment below. What did I miss? What is your best strategy for helping kids with anxiety? All right, until next time.